Hello everyone, welcome to Rush the Wash. My name is Miguel and today I'm going to teach you how to paint Space Marines. But first, let's break it down to 3 rules. Rule number 1. Our standard is for playing with the miniatures. Rule number 2. No special tools, no special techniques, very easy and simple. Rule number 3. We got 10 minutes to paint each. Now that's clickbait. Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Rush the Wash, and today I'm gonna show you how I tackled the ordeal of painting 3 different Space Marines in one go. The idea here was for me to test how can I paint white, gray and black with contrast paints, and to help you do your Space Marines faster with this method. First of all, I decided to do a Space Marine video because it had been some time and I had them over there in this bag and I haven't used them for a while. So I wanted to get rid of them. So first of all, let's get a coffee and we're gonna get painting now. So after choosing 3 of the Space Marines that I had already primed in white, I decided to tackle 2 of them with Apothecary White. And this will be the base for the white and the light gray Marine. And then I did the other one with Contrast Grief Charger Gray, which will be the base for the black Marine. The Space Marine that I will paint white, I will leave it as is with the Apothecary White. But the other 2, the gray one and the black one, I will further shade with one of the black washes that I had. And this is what I was doing here. I was just testing which one will be the one that I will use for each one of them, depending on the texture and the quantity of the pigment that I had. For the black one, I decided to use Basilicanum Gray, but for the light gray Marine, I will be using a little bit of Vallejo Black mixed down with water so it wasn't that strong. And then it came to the point where I needed to decide which chapters I will paint. At the beginning I was wondering if I wanted to do something like White Scars or Black Templars, but I decided against that because these chapters are very common and there are plenty of tutorials about them in YouTube. So I decided to do something a little bit more original. And for the white chapter, I ended up choosing the Knight's Eternity. The gray one will be the Imperial Harbinger, and the last one, the Iron Talons, for the black chapter that I wanted to paint. The process is always the same. Once you settle down on something, you need to find a way to paint the different colors that each one of the miniatures have. For the Knight's Eternity, I use Bloodletter to paint the arms, the shoulder pads, the knee pad, and the generator. And for the Imperial Harbingers, I used a little bit watered down black wash from Vallejo to make sure that it didn't look that white, but a little bit more grayish. And this is that moment during the video where I really request you to please subscribe, smash that like button, and we can continue putting some washes on these miniatures. Thank you. Once that was finished, I will use Iron Breaker, which is a very nice mid-tone silver paint from Games Workshop, to paint the different parts in the bolter and the vents in the generator on the back. This will be followed by a wash with Vallejo Black Wash, or its defect you can use Nuln Oil, which is very useful as well. And I use that to shade these metallic parts and also the joints between the plates in the armor. If I had to do this again, on the Knight's Eternity, I will actually highlight the pauldrons on white instead of painting on top of the red color, in order to ensure that that black will be a little bit more crisp. Following through, the next part is cleaning up the miniatures, the parts that we have stained and we're gonna paint with a different color. In this case, I use white to paint the bolters to make sure that there are no metallic residues underneath the places that I don't want to be metallic, as well as the helmet, security seals, and the pauldrons on the miniatures that have different colors. The Imperial Harbinger and the Iron Talons, because they have a yellow helmet and one of the pauldrons is yellow as well. Those need to be painted white so the color looks clean and crisp on top of those. Once the white paint has dried, I go back to the bolters and I paint them with Blood Angels red. However, please note that the Harbingers should have a black bolter and it should be painted the same way that I'm painting it on the Knights Eternal. That is, they should be black, and then I give them a coat of Ultramarines blue to enrich the hue. The pauldron on the Iron Talons and on the helmet on the Harbingers, as well as the Aquila Imperialis on the Knights Eternal, are painted yellow with Yandere yellow. And then I go with contrast Aethermatic blue to paint the Aquila Imperialis and the arms on the Iron Talons, as well as the Aquila Imperialis on the Harbingers. With a little bit of Vallejo black wash, I create a patina on the metal parts of the generators and the bolters. I also do a little bit of a pink wash on the Harbingers to make the gray look a little bit sharper. I use Magus purple to enrich the red bolt guns, and also to make sure that the red on the Knights Eternal looks richer. Purple is a very good color for this on red. I use also flesh wash to paint the flesh, in this case the head of the Knights Eternal, and a little bit of contrast to help on that flesh to look more natural. I also use that to paint some shades in the Aquila Imperialis of some guns and on the helmet of the Harbingers. With pure white, I'm going to retouch the white power armor just by giving it a little bit of edge highlights to make it look cleaner. And I'm also going to check those details that I haven't painted yet, and I want to make sure that I'm gonna paint later with a crisp, nice color, like the lenses on the bolter on the Harbingers. You will notice that the video is going to change a little bit now, and the reason is that the next day I receive a cut matte black color that I decided to use for the videos, because the green color was a little bit too much on your face. So I hope you like the new look of the video from now on. Also my new look with a haircut. This is the tail time. This is when the miniatures start to come alive. This is probably the most enjoyable part of the painting process, and I really like adding small bits of color here and there through painting the lenses, the purity seals, etc, etc. This next part is one of my favorite ones, and it's when I start working on the small details that you can find in any miniature. In this case, as you can see, I'm working on the lenses, the pouches, the purity seals, etc, etc, all those small details that you can find here and there. It is absolutely worth it investing a little bit of time on painting these small things, because it might not look like it, but they actually are the ones that make or break the miniature. If you neglect them, the miniature will be quite bland, but if you work on them and you get a good result, it will come alive very beautifully. Upon further inspection, I was not sold on the look of the black of the Iron Talons, so I decided to go back to Drakenhof Nightshade, improve the tones in the silver arms and the Aquila Imperialis and whatnot, and then go back onto the black and give it one coat of Drakenhof Nightshade. Now Drakenhof Nightshade works perfectly fine with this because it's one of the previous washes and it's not so thick that it will cover the black with a very strong tone. It actually just improves it by giving it a hue. It's very good. I did that also on the shoulder trims on the Knight's Eternity, and as you can see, I ended up by going back to the leather and using now snakebite leather to improve the skeleton horde that we did before. With white scar and a fine detail brush like the one over here, my Da Vinci Maestro #1, I went back and highlighted a few places here and there to clean up the look of the miniatures. The Imperial Harbingers in particular, they had a very dirty grey, and it was mostly because the areas that were most raised were not as clean as it should be. These small highlights here and there improved that and made it look much crisper and much more interesting in my opinion. Now when I paint Space Marines, one of the things that I like the least is painting the chapter symbols, and particularly of notice in here is the Knight's Eternity symbol with that stylized eye with a skull inside. It was an absolute pain in the neck to paint. I had to try doing it twice. The Imperial Harbinger on the other hand was quite interesting, and the Iron Talons was a little bit dull. But if you can avoid doing this because you want to paint your army fast, then by all means try to get transfers online. One thing that I actually do enjoy is painting the bases, because the bases are very easy to tackle, and I try to do different combinations of colors. Like here I'm using Nighthaunt Gloom, which I never use for anything else but this, and I followed through with a little bit of violet on top of that. For the Iron Talons, I decided to go the middle hammer route, trying to paint one of those Goblin Green famous bases from yesteryear. I started by using Hex Wraith Green, and then I added Warp Lightning Cannon on top of that. After that, I just gave it a dry brush with a yellow color, and I painted the trim black like with all the other miniatures. You will see on the photos at the end the look that I achieved with that. When you paint your army, you have to make sure that you are consistent with the following things. The first one is clean your miniatures. There are no mold lines in them. Second one, make sure that you decide a nice color scheme. And the third one is paint your bases, make them look nice. So let's talk about what did I do and how can you do something similar without doing all these extra steps. Imperial Harbingers, very easy. You can either prime them with a spray that is gray color already, or you can do what I did, okay, and you start with Apothecary White, give it a nice coat of that, and then with very watered down either Null Oil or Vallejo Black, you're gonna go back and try to paint the whole miniature. But I recommend that you actually do a pin wash, so you don't have to go back to recover the color. If you can do that fast, that is great. That is gonna help you a lot. For the Knight's Eternity, very easy, Apothecary White. Make sure that you cover everything. The Blood Angel's Red is so strong that it's gonna cover that, no problem. However, the black parts, the black trims, I think it's better if you go back and you paint it white and then you paint it with the different colors that I use for the Iron Talons. The Iron Talons themselves, start with Griff Charger, it's a good gray. Then follow up with the Basilicanum Gray, is also a nice color. But finish with Dragonhof Nightshade. So for you to get a nice blend of black, totally do that. Go ahead, do 3 colors. I tried before with a different Space Marine, as you can see here. I did it with Black Templar, and I tried with a 2 combination of the first one being Ultramarines Blue, which is a very dark blue, and then I followed up with Black Wash on Basilicanum Gray, and it got too dark. Honestly, in my opinion, it's too dark, but it's a very rich black. And if you do it in 3 steps with a little bit more control on what you put on top of each other, it's gonna be better. First of all, thank you very much for staying up to here in the video. If you have any questions about the color scheme or any requests about future videos, please leave a comment below, because you never know what might be there in my pile of shame that I need to tackle next. Make sure that you active notifications and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it yet. My name is Miguel, and see you next time on Rise to Wise. Bye!